One thing I find disturbing about CNN is they cut up all their videos into very tiny bits. Like on their TV show, they do interviews with people for 10 minutes, but if you go onto their YouTube channel, it's like every little clip is 1 minute long or 2 minutes long. It's like this company is so desperate for views and so desperate for money and just scrounging any way that they can, that they chop everything up into tiny fragments so that they can monetize each one singly, so that they can put little bits of cancer everywhere instead of just putting it all into one video. So I'm gonna watch one of these little bits of cancer and just tear it apart.
No fear!
As thousands across the country protest President Trump's travel ban on 7 Muslim-majority nations.
You know what I find interesting about this Muslim ban from certain countries? Obama did the same exact thing after a terrorist attack. He banned Muslims from coming into the country for a certain period of time, but that was never reported on. It's only reported on when Trump does it. So if you have qualms about the ban, maybe you do, maybe I'm not sure if it's the perfect solution. I'm not saying it is, but don't be hypocritical and only attack Trump when he does it, because Obama enacted the same exact thing.
Here outside Atlanta, his supporters are cheering him on.
I'm glad to see our president taking the actions that he needs to take to provide the highest degree of security for the American citizenry that he possibly can.
Jalen came to America decades ago. He, too, agrees with Trump and said something that the group expressed about the order.
It's temporary until we figure out a way of securely vetted the people who are coming to this country. I think everyone wants to be safe.
Okay, so of course CNN, one of the SJW channels, a very liberal channel, will get an interview from a migrant so that they can sort of just be like, look at this migrant who came to America. He came to America, yet he's hypocritical of others coming to America. When the guy is making good points, he's saying we should make sure and vet the people and make sure that we're having good people coming into our country. We aren't required to allow anyone to come into our country. We're allowed to say we can check this person out and make sure they're going to be productive before we just allow anyone in. There's nothing wrong with that.
They all feel in the aftermath of 9/11 and subsequent attacks in San Bernardino, Paris, and Nice, the world changed, and America's policies have to.
This is a common tactic. That's what the liberals and the SJWs do. They try to claim that whenever you're blocking Muslims or a certain group from coming in, that it's only because of terrorist attacks. Terrorist attacks are one thing, but it's also the harmful culture that they bring in. When you bring a bunch of Muslims in, you're not necessarily going to have a bunch of deaths, but you will have mosques popping up. You'll have Muslims just enacting their culture and trying to take over ours and doing a culture war where they oppress women and stuff like that. It's that type of stuff that we're trying to avoid, not necessarily deaths from terrorist attacks, because terrorist attacks are a very small minority of deaths in the world. Car crashes kill more, but it's about the culture coming in.
Change as well.
I walked that same street in Nice where the truck ran over all those people. So I'm aware that we're just a few steps removed from terrible things that could happen. And I'm okay with a temporary stop so that we can reevaluate where we are.
Instead of blaming President Trump, they say blame the people who flew planes into buildings, turned a holiday party into a massacre, and mowed families down on a street. They do not hate Muslims, they stress, and resent those who say they do.
And I think the pushback ended up being like, no, I don't like you because you're Muslim. I don't like you because you're making me feel unsafe.
Let's not just blame the terrorist attacks. Let's blame the cultures that we saw shifting when mass immigration happened in Sweden or mass immigration happened in Germany. When we saw, especially London, if you look in London, streets that used to be booming, all gloomy and like had people walking around strollers out with their families and everything. Now it's a Muslimized area where there's only women in hijabs covering their faces up and everything. The culture changes the land, and we might not want to bring that in right away or at all.
Lenny also agrees with the president, but he admits he grapples with the impact on refugees.
So that's what I struggle with morally, because is it the right thing to do? I don't know, but I believe this is a temporary thing, and making sure we're getting it right is okay.
The refugees, we have to help them. We have to help the poor little refugees. No, we don't have a responsibility to hurt ourselves by helping others. We don't have to let them into our home. If you see someone hurt on the street, you don't necessarily have to help them and invite them into your home in order to help them. We can help them by doing foreign aid, giving them money, giving them services, the Red Cross, shit like that. We don't necessarily have to bring them all in. I support foreign aid. I don't support bringing a culture in that I don't support.
Vinny immigrated from India 41 years ago. He's the only one in his family to vote for Trump, something they often ask him about.
How can you agree with our president that so many people are left on the airports? Now I'm saying, yeah, there is a human side of it, which I think we could have done differently. But the intent, I think the intent is right.
Bob says this is not about being fair to those immigrants who want to come to America, but about being fair to an entire nation of immigrants already here.
They've come here to create a society and a nation, and they want to be protected. And right now we have a threat, and we are at war, and we have to recognize that and do something about it.
You know what I say to those refugees that want to come to America so desperately? Why don't you all stay in your country for a little bit, sort your own shit out, try and make your place better instead of bringing your baggage to our area? Why do we have a responsibility to take care of you? We don't. You have a responsibility to take care of yourselves. So maybe work on that instead of bringing your shit to our area, because we don't need to take this damage. We have a right as a country to only bring in people that are going to be productive. We don't have to take in people that are going to bring our country down. So fuck the refugees. Fuck them in the north, fuck them in the east, fuck them in the west, and fuck them in the south. I'm out.